Welcome to Algebra 1 9-6, the quadratic formula and the discriminant. There are 4 boxes to talk about today, so let's begin with box number 1. First thing that I want my students to understand is, where does the quadratic formula come from? I'm sure that you've seen the quadratic formula before, or you've heard about it, but I don't know if everyone is sure where it comes from. So the whole thing starts with a basic standard form of a quadratic, ax squared plus bx plus c. If you then solve that equation by completing the square for x, what you eventually get is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and that is the quadratic formula. So yes, you do have to memorize this quadratic formula, so everything in this big red cloud does need to be memorized, but it's really important to me that you know where it comes from. Okay, so it comes from completing the square on ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so box number 2 is answering the question, what is the discriminant and why do we care? Okay, so what I have written down for you and highlighted is the quadratic formula, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and hidden inside this quadratic formula is what's called the discriminant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little blue cloud right around this little piece here, and I'm going to bring this out. So the b squared minus 4ac, this part is called the discriminant. So only this part right here, all right? And the discriminant can be, it's going to be a number, and it can be one of 3 types of numbers. Okay, the discriminant can be a positive number, the discriminant can be a negative number, or the discriminant can be the number 0. So the number 0. Okay, so it's going to be a number. It's either going to be positive, negative, or 0, and here's what it means. If your discriminant, if this b squared minus 4ac value is a positive number, like the number 11, for example, that is going to tell you that there are going to be 2 real solutions. What does that mean? That means that there will be 2 places where the graph will cross the x-axis, and you can find both of them, and they are both real numbers. So like the number 11. So as an example, if your discriminant was the number 11, that would tell you that there are 2 real solutions. If your discriminant is negative, like the number negative 3, for example, that would then tell you that there are no real solutions, and we're going to find out later in life and math that means that there's 2 complex solutions. But for now, we just say that there's no real numbered solutions. So you can imagine the graph of this will be a graph of something that never touches the x-axis. And then if your discriminant, if the b squared minus 4ac is actually the number 0, then that implies there is only 1 real numbered solution, meaning that the parabola or the graph will only touch the x-axis in 1 spot. So this is what the discriminant is, and this is why we care about it. It tells us how many solutions our quadratic is going to have. Okay, box number 3 is an example of how I want you to solve quadratics using the quadratic formula. So let's first consider what this says. Okay, if I wrote this in standard form, it would say x squared minus 4x minus 7 is equal to 0. You should realize that you cannot solve this by factoring, because the factors of 7 in no way can add up to a negative 4. We could use completing the square on this one because the b value is even, so it makes things a lot easier. But I do want to show you how to use the quadratic formula. Okay, so step number 1, the first thing you're going to do is just tell me the values of a, b, and c. So a is a value of 1. B is a value of negative 4, and C is a value of negative 7. That's all you got to do for step number 1. For step number 2, you are going to only figure out the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so look over here. So this is going to be negative 4 quantity squared minus 4 times 1 times the value of negative 7. Okay, now don't mess this part up. Okay, a lot of students mess this up in the calculator. Negative 4 squared, this is the number 16, okay? Now, if I have a negative 4 and a negative 7, okay, so don't mess that up. Negative 4 times negative 7 is a positive 28. So this is going to be 16 plus the number 28, okay? And that's going to give you a value of 44. So since our discriminant is a positive number, this is going to imply there are two real number solutions. So you know that going in. Then step number 3, you have to actually write down the quadratic formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Helps if you sing a little bit. So therefore, x is going to be the opposite of, so negative 4 plus or minus. Now here's the really cool part. You did all the work to figure out the discriminant in step 2, so you just plop that number in at 44. And then we're going to divide by 2 times a, which is the value 2 times 1. And you keep going. So this is going to be 4 plus or minus the square root of 44 divided by 2. Now in all these problems, they're going to want you to round to 2 decimal places. So from here, you can just go in the 2 separate directions. You can go in the positive or the negative. So what I mean by that is you can go 4 plus the square root of 44 and then divide that by 2. So I'll do that. So 4 plus the square root of 44 and then get that answer and then divide by 2. So this is going to be a value of 5.32 or 4 minus the square root. So 4 minus the square root of 44. I'm doing this on my calculator over here. I know you guys can't see. And then divided by 2. So this is going to be negative 1.32. So your two answers, your two real numbered solutions are 5.32 and negative 1.32. So these are the 3 steps that I want to see every time when solving a quadratic. Okay, here you go. Box 4. It's a you try. Solve using the quadratic formula. Round your answer to 2 decimal places. Look back to box 3 or your notes if you need a reminder of the 3 steps. Okay, hopefully you got the right answer of negative 1.76 and negative 6.24. So again, figure out the values of a, b, and c in step number 1. In step number 2, all you gotta do is come up with the discriminant value, which I got 20. Then in step 3, write down the quadratic formula, solve using your calculator, go to 2 decimal places, and you should have got that. We will practice more in class tomorrow.